there? Yeah, that's it.
Your earnings, your spending, your savings.
Hey.
Cash flow. Running matters with the experts on the global scale. What a way to run your life. Personal finance on Smooth 98.1.
You are carrying in the future. Don't worry. Let me spy time. Which is on the top. 16. 16. Yeah. All right. Oh, Liverpool topical. The guest is there, right?
Yes, yes. Yes, I am. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
So, let's go. Hello, everyone. Sorry. Okay. Smooth 98.1, you're welcome into the personal finance as we mentioned earlier. And today we're looking at FX and of course looking at cryptocurrencies and how they affect cost of living in Nigeria. My guest is ready, and so let's get into the meat of the discussion this evening. Onome Okovorole, you're welcome. Onome. Hello. Right, let's do that once again. Onome, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear now.
All right, great. So let's get into the discussion. So quickly, before the meltdown of cryptocurrency, FX, what was your opinion of cryptocurrencies?
I mean, my opinions haven't changed. They're still the same. Cryptocurrencies are an interesting kind of asset class. They are a new space. There's lots of volatility there. So if you're going to deal in cryptocurrencies, then it's best to do so with really a small proportion of your funds so that in the event that you always being the best way to deal with crypto.
All right, that said, let's quickly get on to the next one, which is anyone that approach you asking for investing in cryptocurrency, what would your answer be?
I don't think that, I think that there's not enough knowledge about that space, so for some people are divided into two camps, right? Some people believe that, in the words of Warren Buffett, it's rat poison. I think that's an extreme view. On the flip side, you have the Bitcoin maximalists that believe that, oh, Bitcoin or crypto is the solution to every problem of mankind. So I'd maintain the same approach. It's an interesting space. It's a new space. It's something people should learn about. If you're going to invest, then you should take the time to learn about it. And it's a high risk asset because it's still early days here. And when you think of it, Bitcoin is what, 12, 15 years old, which is rather young, as an asset class. So I just say, if you find it interesting and you can stomach the volatility, then you can go ahead. And if you're not interested, there are other things you can invest in and you'll be fine.
Now, this leads me to the next question. What does bankruptcy of the FTX mean for the reputation of cryptocurrency? And now people who have been skeptical about investing in this would say, yes, we told you. So you can see why we fear so much to invest in it. So what does that mean?
I mean, honestly, I get that. Yes, I get that, but the beautiful thing about investing and innovation is that, with a crisis like this, you have more people paying a bit more attention to self-custodial, um, of, of their own assets. Simply put, you have more people who are doing the basic, which is to say, hold your coins, in your own wallet rather than on an exchange. So we're going to see more of such solutions coming up. Yes, uh, much as a lot of people in the crypto space are not fans of regulation, but when you look at the quantum of money involved, and when you look at the scale of operations of many exchanges, at some point in time, you're going to see regulation coming. But my worry, though, is, there has to be a balance.
All right, so let's quickly get the connection back.
Much regulation that stifles innovation and all that. So, I mean, yes, it's painful to lose money. I know a couple of people who've lost money, but I believe that we'll see better innovation in that space. And also, I think people taking, investing in this space more seriously and more hands-on.
So with the events of the past few days, would you say governments across the world who have been skeptical and Federal Reserves, like the central banks, who've been warning citizens to be very careful when they want to regulate it, would you say now they've been justified with these calls they've been making in the past, using the FTX bankruptcy that has just come up? Oh, it seems we have to refresh this connection so we can get on with this conversation. We'll be back in a bit. All right, Onome, we've got you here, so let's go ahead. Onome?
Gonna be.
We lost him.
What you should have done was go on a break.
I put something on already, so let him see if he'll come back.
Because you have leaving the music better playing.
Okay, it's back. Let me see. No, let it go.
Money matters with the experts on the global scale. Personal finance every Wednesday from 5:15 p.m.
Onome, can you hear me now? All right, we're back and let's get our conversation going on. All right, you're welcome back. We lost you there for a moment, so we're getting your response as in regards of governments being skeptical about the FTX, and would you say that it's been justified with what they've been telling citizens before this happened, the meltdown?
I mean, governments have always been skeptical about cryptocurrencies and all that, so that's not strange. And when you look at it, when it comes to finance, governments have a role in regulation. Maybe what you would see is that you would see accelerated look into regulation of the space. So I think that's probably what will be fallout, because people have lost lots of money. They're not happy. They're going to agitate for more regulation and all that. So that's what you would see. And and in fairness, really, for some governments around the world, I know the US has Congress has discussed some laws around crypto. The UK the same as well. In Nigeria, the Securities and Exchange Commission has looked at some draft guidelines for digital asset exchanges and all that. So yes, there's been some effort, but I think this would make things to be accelerated.
So if someone is still bent on going on with this investment in cryptocurrency, hell bent on doing it, what would the advice be? Because in spite of this, there are some persons who are bent on still taking the risk. What would you be telling them from the sideline?
I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong in investing in them, in my mind. I think the question would be, do they understand the risk involved? What I would always ask clients that, look, if you invest in something and it goes to zero, would you be significantly impacted financially? And if that is the case, it means that they need to reallocate the assets in their portfolio. So there's absolutely nothing wrong in investing in crypto, as long as you have a clear idea of the risk involved, as long as you do not have to.
On the we lost you there for.
As I'm saying that, as long as you do your proper risk management and
Yes.
due diligence, then there's no issue. You can go ahead and do that.
All right, let's get on to this next one. And considering the fall in the Naira in relation to the US dollar, is it understandable that a number of Nigerians are bent on running to cryptocurrencies?
I mean, yes, that's to an extent has been one reason, why you've seen people moving into cryptocurrencies, because you have the likes of stable coins that are pegged to a real world fiat dollar, for instance, or assets collectively pegged to the US dollar that are crypto based and people can buy. So to some extent, that has played a role in but I don't think that that's the sole reason why they're investing, really. And taking it home here to Nigeria, I think one of the reasons why you've seen a lot of people playing in the crypto space is that in the early days, and I say initially, it offered a large proportion of returns in a short period. So it's natural that that will attract people into this space. But yes, I do agree. If we see better FX liquidity, then you may have slightly less use of the stable coins in crypto.
Okay, if you just joining, you're on to personal finance, and today we are looking at the FTX cryptocurrencies, and the cost of living in Nigeria. Our guest is Onome Okwovoriole, the lead analyst, Money Africa, breaking it down for us this evening. We're going on a quick break. We'll be right back after this time, Onome. And so let's get back to it now, Nome, on this one, and that has to do with considering the fall of the dollar as it is to the naira. Inflation is in double digits in the country. We have already mentioned that exchange rates as it stands from the last question response. What savings or investment options do Nigerians have to protect themselves from the inflation and exchange rates, especially with the new figures released by the NBS?
Okay, so first is it's the high inflation is a global issue. I mean, the UK inflation figures released for the UK are at a 41-year high. A few months ago for the US, we're seeing what 30, 40-year high, inflation numbers. So it's a global thing. Maybe it's worsened here in Nigeria because we've pre-COVID, we've always struggled with high inflation. 10-year average inflation for Nigeria was or is 12%. So even pre-COVID, we were dealing with high inflation. The challenge really is there are not many investment options that if you're looking at a 1-year basis, meaning that if you're looking at 21% or 20% today, there are not many safe investment options that will beat that currently at the moment. However, I believe that if inflation starts to trend downwards to the what, maybe the 15, 12% mark, where it's usually always has been, then you begin to see investment options I can consider. So if you look at the yield on a 10-year government bond, is what? Somewhere between 10% to 12%. So in the short term, there are no very few safe, low risk options that investors can consider. But in the long term, once we see inflation fall back a bit, I think that they'll be able to make positive real return.
Well, it seems like you can't even stand, you can't even move, you can't invest in, there are no much options to fall to. So it seemed like follow your head. That's what you're saying.
It's hard to, you can't predict inflation really. For instance, if you look at it on a month-on-month basis, the numbers actually came down because we had harvest season. And typically during harvest season, the inflation tends to rate at which inflation increases tends to slow down a bit. But we are in a pre-election year. Election spending means that we're going to see a further rise in inflation. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe what 22, 23%, before things start to come down. Because when you look at it, the election money, I don't think has started circulating in the economy at all.
Okay, that brings us to, you mentioned harvest. So, and that leads us to food, especially. With food prices going through the roof in Nigeria, what spending advice do you have for those trying to get by?
There's only one thing they can do, which is to try to earn more. The easiest way, so to speak, to deal with inflation, especially the really tough inflation that we have here, is to try to earn more. So looking at upskilling, looking at the side hustle if you have the time, looking at working slightly longer hours if you can do so, because really a lot of people work really, really brutal hours. But really the only escape is to earn more, because when you think of it, I mean, people spend what, roughly 50 something percent of their income on food. So higher prices, there's little In some cases, food prices have gone up, what, 30, 40, 50%. How do you deal with that when your income hasn't gone up by that magnitude? So the only way out really is to see if you can increase your income and earn a bit more.
Well, as a sort of digression from the question your answer, you just mentioned it seemed like Nigeria's kind of inflation it seemed like it defies the textbooks compared to other societies that are experiencing inflation, of course, the UK and the other parts of the world. So what makes theirs quite different and it seem like they can get by?
I mean, that's because they've always traditionally had low inflation. I mean, so pre-COVID, US had what? Inflation around the 2% rate. UK was somewhere around that rate. So these countries have always had low inflation rates. That's on one hand. Now, looking at it, what are the drivers of inflation in Nigeria? Why do we have so high an inflation rate? The first issue is we have a lot of supply bottlenecks. So the bad roads, the high cost of generating power, the insecurity, these are the issues that make inflation so high in Nigeria. So you notice that for a lot of advanced countries, they are not dealing with these kind of issues. What they are dealing with is inflation that is more to do with people having more money to spend. So for instance, if you look at the US, one of the reasons why you had such high inflation is that you had a lot of stimulus money coming in. So for a lot of people, I mean, 3, 4, 5 months of income, in addition to whatever they had set aside, or in some cases, that was just simply money that they just hadn't earned in a while. So our inflation is more of a cost push issue, while globally for the advanced markets, their inflation is more about people having lots of money on hand and the credit economy that makes it easy to spend.
Okay, which leads me to this. Is a side also a must at this point for employed Nigerians looking to earn more?
I don't think it's a must, right? But it all depends on the person. So if one is in a field where one can upskill, improve one's skill set, and move up the ladder, obviously a better option. If one is in a position whereby those options are not available, then a side also, if it's doable, can be taken up. But sometimes you have to weigh the cost. For some people, it's the quickest way to earn more is simply to upskill and move to other industries or move up the same sector. For some people, the quickest way to earn more is to find an extra job that they can do on the side while they try to upskill or while they try to weigh other job options. So it really depends on individual. Some people would do best if they just upskill. Some people need to pick up, a job on the side.
Well, if you just join in, I'm speaking with Onome Okovorele, the lead analyst at Money Africa. It's been breaking down the topic this evening on personal finance, FTX, crypto, and cost of living in Nigeria. And the last point here where he mentioned the need to upscale or probably move on to other jobs because sometimes the side hustle may not really be the thing, as he has said. That leads me to the next question. How important is networking in your view with respect to the impact it can have, in increasing earnings? All right, Onome, let's take that again. Okay, I said, how important is networking in your view with respect to the impact it can have on increasing earnings?
I mean, I don't think I mean, look, if you're going ultimately, if the aim is networking, right? It means that it has to be an exchange in value or a potential exchange in value, because you need to have something to offer, right? So for most people, really, it's not the network that is the issue. It's just having skills that are in demand. And even if you're in a space with skills that are in demand, just making sure that you are really, really on top, of your game. So, for instance, let me use entertainment. You have lots of popular OAPs, right? You also have OAPs that are really, really good at their job and are able to earn extra on the side. So for the OAPs that can't earn or don't earn extra on the side, now you're not going to say the problem is network. It could simply be they don't have the skill set, or they're just not interested, or they just haven't found the formula that works for them. So really, I don't think networking is the issue. It's about skill set meeting opportunity.
All right. So moving on as we approach the home stretch of this conversation, what about Nigerians that are not employed? Is the answer starting their own business? Onome, we still have you on the line there. Let's quickly clear this up and then we just wrap it up. Okay, we've got you back now. So what about Nigerians that are not employed? Is the answer starting their own business?
Look, let's be candid. For a lot of people, starting their own business is a means of survival, right? That's not the choice that they want. It's a means of survival. So if you have to start a business to survive, by all means do so. On the other hand, if you have a 9 to 5, I think that a better option would be to say, how can I move up the ladder? What skills do I need to move up the ladder? What skills do I need to move to other sectors that I can work in? How can I get those skills? How long will it take? What will it cost? Sometimes for some people, it's little things such as, having a fairly active LinkedIn page, having a fairly active social media profile, having some visibility in the sector in which you operate. So I'm really, as sad as it is, for a lot of people, starting up a business is a matter of survival. So it's either business or hunger. And if that's the hard and painful case, then please by all means do so. But if you have other options, I guess you can explore, because the vast majority of businesses end up failing in the first few years of operation. So business isn't a 100% assured kind of thing. It's actually one day, one issue. You're constantly dealing with fires and troubleshooting. So I don't think that's for everyone. But if the choice between hunger and business, please, set up.
All right, so finally, let's do this. The festive season is coming up next month, if it's not started yet. How should spending, be moderated as we close out the year?
I would say that people should be low key in terms of spending. 2023 is going to be an extremely challenging year. So you want to, as much as possible, have enough cash in your pocket. Don't go overboard. Don't spend all you have. Don't borrow to enjoy the festive season. Just try to cut your coats according to your size. You can have fun, you can relax, you can enjoy yourself, plan ahead, and don't go overboard, because next year is going to be an extremely challenging year. So it's good to have as much cash that you can on your hand.
Well, that answers even the last question where I was supposed to put to you, looking at the 2023, what personal finance principles do you think Nigerians should have? And that's basically don't go overboard. And that does it on Nome Okuvorole, the lead analyst, Money Africa, for spending time with us on personal finance today. Thank you so much. And so this is how we wrap it. And so this is how we wrap it up on the show today. It's Personal Finance and Smooth 98.1. More music coming your way. Don't forget, at about 10 minutes past the hour of 6, we've got something very topical to discuss. Stay tuned.
Your earnings, your spending, your savings. Flow. Money matters with the experts on the global scale. Personal finance every Wednesday from 5:15 p.m.